Hello and welcome to the Nashville Daily Podcast. I'm Stuart Deming.
And I'm Aaron Pennington.
Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and we'll be talking about his presence here in Nashville.
Plus, talks of shrinking Nashville's Metro Council has both sides of the aisle talking about the pros and cons of downsizing.
We'll talk about all of this and more on Nashville Daily.
Today's episode is brought to you by hashtag Think Nashville, Think Brad. And of course, we're talking about Brad Reynolds, a real estate agent here in Nashville. It's going to get you into a home, and it's an amazing thing here in Nashville to get into a home, because then you are on track for success here in Nashville. I heard a joke the other day that talked about you thought Californians were coming in now that In-N-Out has been announced. That was probably holding so many Californians back from coming into Tennessee.
I cannot leave because there's no In-N-Out. My life would not be fulfilled without In-N-Out.
Yep. Well, now all the Californians are going to be coming here now that In-N-Out has announced their presence in Tennessee, or their intentions to be in Tennessee.
Whatever organization is tracking that data, make sure to ask that question, please.
That would be pretty cool to know. If you haven't listened to that episode, that you can find over on our YouTube channel, Nashville Daily Podcast.
It's also in our show notes.
Yep. Or at NashvilleDailyPodcast.com. We have an archive of our episodes there. But if you are looking to get into a property, Brad Reynolds is your guy. Call or text him at 615-856-3270 or visit him at thinkbrad.com. If you're thinking Nashville, think Brad.
Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And there's some really good, fascinating stories. We have an article that we're going to be reading from. Martin Luther King Jr. came to Nashville a few times during his life. He made a few speeches near Fisk University and other parts of Nashville. So this article that we're reading from is coming from MSN, which is a resource we don't use that often.
It's been a while since I've been on MSN.
But so WSMV Nashville wrote this article, and then MSN shared.
Okay.
I don't know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
So they go on to say, Dr. King came here to be inspired, not necessarily to inspire, and those were his words. And so that's coming from the chair committee for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And basically what was happening in this time is there was a lot of lunch sit-ins that were happening in Nashville. And this is because of the students at Fisk University. They would walk from Fisk University to downtown Nashville to the Fifth Avenue Arts District. That's what the Arts District is now. Back then, it was not the Arts District. There was a lot of restaurants and diners. So there was the Woolworth store, all those old stores used to have these diners. So they'll have these lunch sit-ins happening there. And one of the students, Diane Nash, she was really a person that inspired all of this. And so Dr. Martin Luther King was inspired by their activism in Nashville. Nashville was one of the first major cities in the Southeast United States to end segregation, and that's because of the work of the Fisk University students.
Yeah, and so if you want to read more about this article and about this topic, we will link this in the show notes so you can find this and read a little bit more about it. All right, so before we get into the Metro, we had talked a little bit about the state of Tennessee
this
limiting
is on Friday's episode, correct?
Sometime last week. Yeah. We talked about the state's proposal. This isn't a House bill. To limit the size of, I think it's specifically Nashville's Metro Council, or it may be statewide that no council can reach over 20 members in the entire state. I can't remember
which is interesting
entirely
because there's 25 counties that have over 20 members.
Yeah, for some reason, Tennessee took it upon itself to put a lot of Metro Council members in cities, with the exception of Murfreesboro for some reason.
Well, so Murfreesboro, so Rutherford County, we'll see a map here in a second, but Rutherford County has 20-some throughout the entire county. There's only 5 in the city of Murfreesboro.
That's odd within itself.
It's interesting.
With this, we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth today with a little more information that's been given from the Tennessean on some of the pros and cons, how some of the members feel about it, how people from the state are viewing it, and all of that stuff. But before we get into that, we want to talk about some local food that we have experienced here recently. Stuart, you went to the grand opening of this place. This is Condado Tacos in Capitol View.
Mm-hmm.
It is on the corner just opposite from ML Rose.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a fairly large space. I think it feels a little bit bigger than ML Rose.
4,000 square feet, maybe?
Maybe. It's fairly large. And so you went to the grand opening. This was sometime a year ago or so.
A year ago, yeah. I had this is when I was eating really bad stuff. I had the Doritos Loco Taco thing that they have.
That's cool. So I went there, and it is actual. I didn't really expect this because so many places are fast casual now when they open. But it is you sit at a table and you have a waiter come to you and everything kind of place for in Capitol View. Only ML Rose, I believe, is the only other place that has that.
Yeah.
Because so many more restaurants are now moving to fast casual. It eliminates a lot of servers and positions. Yeah, exactly.
Or they're going into automation like McDonald's.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I had 2 tacos. I had the Sweet Heat, which is a brisket taco.
That sounds good.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. A lot of flavors.
They have like a pico de gallo in it, like a corn
So
base.
it is what I like about the 2 tacos that I had. It is a flour soft shell, and then inside of that is a hard corn shell. Queso blanco, braised beef brisket, cilantro and onions, Middlefield smoked cheddar, pineapple salsa, habanero mango sauce, and chipotle honey.
Habanero mango salsa. That sounds amazing.
It was really good.
Was it spicy?
I enjoyed it. No, not very much. I had enough heat to get the
sensations going.
Yeah, get it going. But that's one of the tacos that I had. The second one I had was the only one on their pork menu, the Korean barbecue. It also had a soft and hard shell. It was really good. Smoked cheddar queso, slow roasted pulled pork, gochujang barbecue sauce, which was really good. Pickled jalapenos. They're way too. The jalapenos did not seem pickled to me.
They were not pickled.
They didn't seem like it. They were just kind of piled on there. I just brushed them off.
Maybe they
and
sat
pineapple
in a
salsa
pickled jar, so they're pickled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But after I took the jalapenos off because they were just sitting in one spot, it was really good. I think I actually liked the Korean barbecue one a little bit more than the brisket one. But I had a good experience. It was about $5.50 a taco,
which is on the higher end.
And there was a lot of meat in there, so it seemed proportional to how big the taco was. So I enjoyed it.
The tacos maybe the size of your fist, or your hands, like like that.
They were tall. Maybe like 5. They were more tall because it was a big hard shell.
Okay.
And then but a soft shell on the outside of that.
Okay.
So
I had one of my favorite barbecue restaurants in all of Tennessee.
Nice.
And this is BB's Barbecue off of Highway 96 in Franklin, Tennessee. And my go-to is the smoked turkey. I believe they have some of the best smoked turkey I've ever had.
I need to have it. I keep getting the brisket each time because it's too good to pass up on, but I need to get the turkey next time.
But they have this white Alabama barbecue sauce. And with the smoked turkey, it is literally like a perfect combination. And that's all I got. I got the white Alabama barbecue sauce and a half-pound smoked turkey. And I introduced it to one of our friends.
Oh, so you didn't get the sandwich?
Oh no, no.
Yeah, you just got it in the bucket
and barbecue sauce. Yep. They put it in wax paper. And so I was in this bowl.
Oh, they didn't put it because when I get the brisket, they'll put it in like a little plastic
but
container.
They put it in the bowl with wax paper. So I had to take the wax paper and get to the turkey, which was annoying. But I introduced it to my friend, and he's like, "This is the best turkey I have ever had in my entire life." So that says something. And I didn't even prompt him. I just said, "Hey, just try this turkey, man." And he's like, "All right." But speaking of food, we just came out with a video last Friday on one of the best smash burgers in Nashville. If you want to learn more about Cletus, it's a restaurant that we've talked about here a few times on the podcast, head over to our YouTube channel, explore.nash, to watch that video now. That video is also in our show notes at NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
Okay, so if you remember from Friday's episode, if you want to hear the initial article that we talked about, then we will put that in the show notes, as well as go to our archives, and it's just a few episodes away. National City Council, and its size is the issue that's on the table here. This really stemmed from, now this is just rumors. It's not a confirmed thing. The Tennessee House and government will never really say that this is the reason why this is happening. But last year in 2022, the RNC was trying to find their way to Nashville
For the 2024.
For the 2024 RNC.
Yep.
And with that, they had everything lined up. I think we had a bid basically in the bag.
We had two bids, remember?
Because we sent one out for the RNC and the DNC.
Yep, and
at the time.
DNC said no, and then RNC. So the state opened up for both, and then the RNC, they had a reading in July of 2022 that did not go through because something happened, and then in August they did like another reading in 2022, and that one was denied. So
essentially, Metro Council was. I'm not going to say this officially, but they were making what seemed like excuses. It seemed like excuses for some. They didn't have proper security secured to officially make that bid for Nashville. And so they didn't end up getting all of their ducks aligned to allow this bid to be sent for the RNC, this official kind of invitation bid. And so the RNC ended up picking Milwaukee for the 2024 RNC conference. The state tried to remedy this and kind of send their own proposal. Somehow that didn't happen. And the RNC was looking to move very quickly. And once Nashville kind of stuck their nose up at the conference, then it was, and it wasn't, even though the conversations on the official books was because of security reasons, many of the Metro Council members were opposed ideologically to the RNC, even though the state was wanting either the RNC or the DNC, either of those conferences. It's a big revenue maker for the state of Tennessee. Just some small conference that is coming into Nashville this year, a very, 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 very small conference in the like Music City Center is bringing in millions for Nashville. So the RNC would have brought in a ton of money, or the DNC would have brought in a ton of money. Well, at that time, you said, was it the state that was pretty much like, we know this was a very personal thing, and we're going to make sure that, without saying it, they said that there's something coming for Metro Council.
Yeah, so I can't remember who was part of that conversation. It was definitely some state lawmakers that were upset about this. I'll have to go back into our archives because I think we actually mentioned those state lawmakers by name in the archives. But they basically said, because you did this, Nashville, there's going to be something that happens to you guys.
Yep. So we're going to get into what exactly is proposed for the Metro Council side of things. But before we do, we need to let you know, if you are planning to be in a new state for 2023, and you said, this is the year where I am going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, we have another thing to put on your list that you need to make sure gets on it, and that is to find a great barber shop in Nashville. And we have a great recommendation for you, and that is Bowtie Barber Club in Donaldson. And if you are absolutely looking to find your look, or get your hair in shape, your beard in shape, or like Stuart, and you need to have your nose waxed and your ears waxed.
Hey,
and
I just did
eyebrows.
I just did
my eyebrows for the first time.
I think we need to post that video on our Instagram. That's explore.nash. But I got my eyebrows for the first time, and what was interesting about that is on the one eyebrow there was way too much. What is it? It's not like ink. I don't know what it is.
It's
wax.
It's wax. Yeah.
There's way too much wax, and so she had to like pick through it, and I'm like, oh, this is more painful than the nose, I think. But
now you can smell colors.
I could smell colors and
hear in HD and
hear sounds. And I could hear smells. Okay, whatever. That's confusing.
It was that
Bowtie,
good.
Bowtiebarberclub.com. You can book your beard trim or your haircut right now. They also have hot towel shaves, if that's something that intrigues you.
Yes, true barber experience there. We absolutely trust them with with all of that stuff. So go check out Bowtie.
Should we start with this bill real quick?
Yeah. So let's talk about what was proposed for the state of Tennessee that would affect the Nashville Metro Council. So essentially, the issue on the table is Nashville's Metro Council is too large. So this bill has a little bit of a remedy for something like Nashville's Metro Council.
So when you say too large, there's currently 40 members on the Metro Nashville City Council. 35 of them, so there's 35 districts inside of the Davidson County, and then there's 5 council members at large. So the reduction of members, if this bill is passed, will be down to 20 members. So it's literally cutting it in half.
Yes.
So this is House Bill 48. We're not going to read all of this because the bills get pretty boring pretty fast. So this goes on and after the effective date of this act, and except for as provided in the subdivision, the term for a member of a governing body of a metropolitan government is 4 years. Elections for council members must be held on the first Thursday in August of 2024 if the governing body of the Metropolitan Council is required to reduce the number of its members in accordance with subdivision AB.
All right, so let's find where it's talking about the actual number of Metro Council members.
Okay. All right. So you do that. We'll pull up, if you want to pull up the Tennessean article while I read through this real quick.
All right. So like Stuart said, we are at 40 members right now. How does that rank up against other cities in the United States? Because you may be thinking, yes, that's large, but is it really that large? Absolutely, it is compared to the rest of the country because Nashville is nowhere near in the top 5 for the largest cities population-wise in the United States, but how do we rank up with Metro Council members? We are 3rd on the list for the number of Metro Council members. New York City is number 1, Chicago's number 2, and Nashville is number 3. And so, you know, the other number to look at here is we're going to compare the number of constituents per local representative across the United States. Here we rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Here, let me show this map. Is this that first
Yeah, it's
article?
at the bottom of that page. So New York City is number 1, and these are all city, county government. So an entire metro government here. We'll throw this up here on the screen as well. New York City's number 1. New Orleans is number 2 with most representatives per constituent. Jacksonville, Florida is number 3. Denver, Colorado, number 4. Indianapolis, number 5. Louisville, number 6. And Nashville, 7. And so we would probably move up the list to just about where Denver is. And Denver, we would be a little less than Denver. Denver is similar in population to Nashville, just a few thousand off. But that's where we are in number of constituents per local representative across several U.S. cities. And I've seen the point, we'll see this in some of the Tennessean articles, about how it would be more difficult to serve double the amount of constituents if we move to half the number of representatives, but there's not a single quote, as we'll see, not a single quote that says that from the council members, that the council members are saying that their load is completely overburdened right now and that there's no way they could keep up with that many people. So I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to ask the council members themselves how they would feel about that. And there's not too many quotes particularly about that.
We're gonna try getting Jeff Syracuse on to dive more into this topic here in the next few weeks. But first, we need to mention this. So Metro Nashville City Council members are part-time. They are not full-time employees.
Correct.
I believe their annual salary, I may be wrong on this, comment below. It's around $24,000.
Yeah, it's between 23 and 24,000. I think it's 23.6.
There's that conversation. If we have 20 members, do they get a bigger pay increase?
That is part of the conversation.
We'll talk about that here in a second. But I found this in the bill. This is House Bill 48.
All right.
After the next general election for the governing body of a metropolitan government held in accordance with subdivision A1, that's the one I was reading, the governing body must not be composed of more than 20 voting members. That's statewide.
Yep.
So that's Knox County, Hamilton County, Davidson County, Shelby County, and all the other 95 counties.
Yep.
Or other counties I mentioned. So that's statewide. That's not just coming after the city of Nashville.
All right, so the Tennessean has an article which is about the pros and cons of what would be of a 20-member council instead of a 40-member council. So they go into detail about this. So the first quote is from Dave Rosenberg. He is the Bellevue representative in Nashville. He said, I think there's general unanimity that the bill is improper, but it's been interesting to see some conversations about the disadvantages of shrinking the council. He said what it's done is make clear that a decision should be happening in coffee shops and community centers, not at the Capitol. What I think is very interesting is that because this bill has been put on the table, now the conversations are happening in the community centers and the coffee shops.
I think you and I have talked about the size of Metro Council way before this topic even came up.
Yeah.
You and I have been talking about this for a long time, but you and I are one of the only guys in town that seems to pay attention to what's happening to Metro Council. So.
Yep. Okay, so the Tennessean continues to say Nashville is currently represented by the 35 district elect. We've talked about this. This ranks as the fourth highest ratio of member constituents represented for a governing body in Tennessee of a Tennessee county, which is not too terrible considering we are one of the largest populations in here. So here are the pros. This is from
Lamberth, who's the one who filed the bill.
Okay, so Lamberth he's been the more vocal of the two Republican sponsors. They say Watson, the other person who filed, was unavailable to speak, so that makes sense why Lamberth was the more vocal one.
Yes.
So Lamberth said that there are very few city councils that go above 20. He said, and when they do, you start seeing a breakdown of how those councils can serve their constituents well and how they work together. I would have loved more detail there. Mm-hmm. Loved more detail about that.
Maybe he gave more detail.
Maybe he gave more detail. We'll see. Maybe we'll bring Lamberth in here. So he said this is very interesting. The first Metro charter in Nashville, proposed in the 1950s, called for a 21-member council, which was scrapped during the second attempt to consolidate city and county governments in 1962 as part of a compromise to help the then county commissioners and city council members to keep their positions. I wonder, does Nashville have a history of giving insane benefits and bending to city council members? Do we have a history of that?
Oh, I wonder. Yes, we do. Yes. There's a lot of controversy behind it.
About 56% of voters supported the second referendum, and Metro Nashville was born.
So I just want to give a little bit more context to that. And what's interesting is, so you had those two votes.
And we were the first.
We were one of the first in the United States
county governments.
Combine our city into a city government.
Metro, yeah.
And so, like, if you look at counties like Williamson County and Knox County is a great example. So they have mayors of all of the towns in Knox County. So, like in Maryville and Knoxville, they have mayors of these towns. Maryville's in Blount County.
Yeah.
But so they have mayors of these towns, and then they have a mayor of the county. Montgomery County is a great example of this as well.
It is a very that's where you see a lot of the disagreements, or
Yep.
a lot of the news about where you find out that there's a different county mayor than a city mayor.
Yeah, and you're like,
Montgomery County is part of that.
Yeah.
Williamson County, you find out about that
County,
occasionally.
Murray County. So all of these counties have these city mayors and then the county mayor. What's interesting about Davidson County, and I believe we're the one of the only counties in the state of Tennessee that has this.
Probably, yeah.
The city of Nashville is our county government. So
yes, we are a city county government.
So it's blended, and this was a really interesting proposal. They ultimately did this, from what I've learned, for Metro schools. Initially, that's why they initially kicked this off, was to combine Metro schools because of lack of bus drivers and lack of accountability from the schools. That was part of the main reason, but I didn't realize it was only passed by 56%. Which is really interesting.
That is very interesting.
So that's just a little bit more context into our Metro Nashville City County government.
Yep. So the Tennessean goes on to say the idea of shrinking the council, which is the third largest in the country,
which is crazy.
So the Tennessean says it's not new.
Houston is massive compared to Nashville.
Yeah. And Nashville, this speaks into what Dave Rosenberg was saying, but it actually opposes what he says, because he's saying, it shouldn't happen from the state. It should happen in the coffee shops and the community centers. This is not a new thing for Nashville. It's not like this idea appeared out of thin air. Nashville voters rejected a plan to reduce the council to 27 members and expand term limits from 2 to 3 terms in a 2015 referendum. So
it's probably the term limits. They probably didn't want people to serve for 12 years.
Right. So it was a multi-issue bill that was probably on the table, but so this has been talked. It's not like this is a new thing for Nashville. The Tennessean goes on to say former Metro Council member Emily Evans supported the 2015 effort to reduce Metro Council size. She'd rather see Nashville voters decide the issue in another referendum. I probably would as well.
Yes.
But now the idea is that now that we're talking about it, if it's a state law, it's a state law. If the city of Nashville can come and kind of create our own thing, then that'd be even better. But just because the state is doing it doesn't make it a bad idea. That's a quote from Emily Evans, which is very true. Just because it's coming from one side of the aisle down to Nashville, if it came from the other side of the aisle, then theoretically more. If it came from the Democrat side, let's say if Tennessee was a flip state, it came from the Democrat side of the aisle, then probably more the Democratic side of Nashville would agree with it. So just because it comes from a certain side doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. That's a quote from Emily Evans. The council size and 2-term limit means the city has to come up with a new batch of at least 80 candidates for competitive races. And this is a very, very good point. Nashville, every theoretically 4 years, because most of the people will run again.
Yeah.
Every 4 years, Nashville has to come up with a new, theoretically 40 very highly qualified city council members.
Mm-hmm.
She worries the office has devolved into a stepping stone for people aiming for high political offices.
Exactly what it is.
It's going to be that way. It's going to be that way regardless, whether it's 40 or 20.
Yeah.
She said, my experience was that it was getting noticeably harder for the city council to recruit a quality field. I would agree with that in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Emily Evans also said that a smaller council might be a stronger one. It may be easier to secure appointment or secure support from 21 members out of 40 than 11 out of 20. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so here are the cons from the Tennessean. And this is from the Tennessean. I don't know if they're quoting anybody here, if this is just them. They're saying Nashville's Metro Council was created as part of a race-related compromise. I don't know exactly if that's their quote or if they're where they got that.
Cite your source on that one.
Yeah. So the current Metro Council, noted as one of the most diverse in the city's history, boasts a 10-member minority caucus. In 2015, the council's minority caucus staunchly opposed the referendum to reduce the body size, warning it could negatively impact council diversity. Council member Delicia Porterfield, the current minority caucus chair, said a smaller council would likely mean more expensive races, which could disproportionately impact minority and working class candidates. A candidate who isn't, she said in a quote, a candidate who isn't inherently wealthy cannot self-fund their campaign. She also rejected the idea that a smaller council would bring elected officials closer to their constituents. So I just about to say, as long as I don't care what color the person is that's representing me, as long as they're representing me, that's the end of the story there for me.
And representing well.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
The Porterfield says, if anything, that puts them further away because they're now doubling the number of constituents they're serving. Again, it talks about what I went earlier. We haven't heard any council members saying that they couldn't handle the job if it got shrunk, and I'm afraid that somebody is they're probably nervous to say that because then they wouldn't get reelected if they said it. So it'd be very interesting to see what somebody actually thought about that. House Democratic Caucus Chair John Ray Clemens, Democrat from Nashville, echoed these concerns, adding that a smaller council is better for business interests as money would have more influence on who gets elected. I don't necessarily know if that's the case there. Nashville keeps a pretty close eye on that stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who have been in the spotlight for having those kind of dealings, And Nashville's pretty good about spotting that stuff. House Speaker Cameron Sexton of Crossville, in an interview with the Tennessean, cited support from the business community as one of the many reasons he favored the bill to limit the size of Nashville's council. They're really the only things we've heard is that the business community supports it. I haven't seen really anything else that talks about that side of the story.
Yeah. Other than that, this article goes on for a few questions, and the one is the pay increase if there's a lower amount of council members. And I don't know. So they actually get paid $23,100 a year for part-time work, which that's not terrible for part-time work, except for when you have 13-hour council meetings. That's pretty terrible.
Correct. And so this is also an interesting thing because it is part-time. So that would mean, the interesting thing about going from part-time to theoretically full-time is that a lot of Metro Council members run because they can keep their career and run at the same time. If council members ended up giving up their career to do this, then you would probably see more people who are going in it for the politics side of things because they know they're giving up their regular 9 to 5 in order to pursue a career in politics because they can't work their same career that they've been doing for 20 years. They'd be going full-time Metro Council. And so it'd be a lot harder for those people, theoretically, if they've been working their way up the ladder to go back to that same post where they were prior. So I think it is very interesting because you would then have to, the cost would not only go up in full-time for a Metro Council member, but you would
staff member,
office expenses, everything. So we'd probably see about a tripling in cost for a Metro Council in that regard.
And that's not including the income of a staff member.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So one thing, there's another Tennessean article that's in our show notes, and I wanted to point this out. The Tennessean did a really good job of going through all 95 counties and getting the amount of council members in those counties. And we're going to show this map real quick. So it's really fascinating. So we'll start in Davidson County, which is right here. So you have 40 members in the city council. They represent 17,599 people. If you come over to Knox County, for the entire county, they have 11 representatives. They represent 43,543. If you go down to Hamilton County, where Chattanooga is, they also have 11, and they represent 33,292. Let's head over to Shelby County. This is the second largest county and probably still the second largest city in Tennessee. It is the second largest. So Shelby County has 13 representatives, and they represent 71,000 people.
Whoa. Interesting.
So it's just interesting looking at, and then you had Rutherford County, so 21 representatives in the entire county. 5 of them are from Murfreesboro,
which is still very very interesting. Yeah. The only thing that we don't know, and maybe it's out there, comment below if you know a little bit more on this, when this vote is going to happen for the state.
Well, so it's interesting. So right now it has to go through the reading, and then it has to go through, I think, 7 committees, and then it comes to the floor for the vote.
Okay, so it could be a while.
It could be towards the end of this session of the Tennessee General Assembly session, or it could happen in the next couple weeks, depending how fast things want to move.
Drop your comments on YouTube and let us know, should Nashville's Metro Council be reduced from 40 to 20 members? Should they be full-time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we may read them on there. See you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. If you want to learn more, head to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
You can also follow us on social media at explore.nash on Instagram, Nashville Daily Podcast on YouTube, and explore.nash on YouTube as well.
The Nashville Daily Podcast is an Explore LLC production, copyright 2023.